All right, wonderful. So thank you for joining me today. As I mentioned, I'm Kay from the Envaigo team, and we're going to be going over our checklist app today. So, in case you haven't heard about us really briefly before we really dive in, who is Envaigo? Well, you might know us under other names, but we've been in the market for well over 15 years for both app and EDI, and we work specifically with Business Central and software add-ons. So we're 100% integrated in Business Central, both on-prem and on cloud, but we also have backwards compatibility as far back as NAV 2009 R2. So I'm from the partner care and marketing team here at Envaigo, and I'm going to be going through our checklist app with you specifically. I also have my colleague Mazhar joining me. He is our app team technical team lead. So any other technical questions that you have, we're definitely going to be able to handle that. So anything that you have at any point, feel free to throw that in the questions and we'll get started on that. So when we're talking about a mobile app, particularly in regards to our checklist app, there's a couple of things that you're going to be looking at. Obviously, customers are looking to add new members to their team, and they want to make sure that they're hitting the ground running as quickly as possible. Why not have a checklist where they have the ability to do that, where they can go through exactly their processes on site and they can really see here's exactly what I should be doing in the correct order when completing these particular tasks. And I also know if I have any questions, exactly what's meant there. Additionally, when we're talking about any mobile app, but also particularly checklists, you want to improve the quality of the data that your customers are getting. It also means the quality of on-site when we're meeting so that I can really have the best on-site visit with my customer and they're getting all of the details that they will need. And of course, as you would always expect with Envaigo, the ability to stay flexible. We don't want to provide a solution that only works today, but we're also looking for a solution that's going to work in 5 years, 10 years. Your customers change, your processes change, your business is growing, and we want to be able to grow with you while you're doing that. So why don't we go right ahead? I'm a very large fan of letting the solution speak for itself, so we're going to dive right into our Envaigo checklist app. One thing you might be knowing, obviously, we have 4 base apps on our side, our sales, service, delivery, and the checklist that we're looking today. Everything is built in our mobile app builder. So we're going to look at sort of a pre-configured solution that can be very flexibly adapted to any customer, any process, any industry. All right. So I have my iPad right in front of me. You're never going to get my iPad away from me, but I know that regardless of the solution that you're working on, iPad or iOS, Android, or Windows, a smartphone, tablet, or a laptop, you will be able to use the checklist app on your side. So I've already logged in, and what I'm seeing right off the bat is my main menu. So pretty streamlined. We're talking about checklists. So I have the ability to create a new checklist, jump in and see what I've already started for the day. Maybe I have some processes that go over a couple of days, and then my completed checklists if I want to go and make a comparison to my last on-site visit. Now I'm going to go right ahead and start a new checklist. I'm on site with my customers doing some construction work. But here I can see I have a couple of possibilities for particular checklists that I might be looking at handling. But as I said, I'm on site for construction, so let's go ahead and walk through that checklist as well. It's already telling me, hey, you already started one? Did you want to edit it? No. I'm on site with a new customer. I'm visiting Antarctica today, and I got to work through some information with them. Right off the bat, I can see some sort of red-orange fields. These are our mandatory fields. So I know I definitely need to enter some information there. I am on site at the Envaigo Hamburg office. That's where we're working today, where my details are. When I'm talking about data entry, as you know, I can type everything, but I can also use that voice recognition. My construction site manager is Michael that I am working with today, and obviously go ahead and add today's time and date. So I can already see a couple of possibilities for that information that I might be needing to enter into my checklists. Here I've got a job status, pre-formulated responses. It's in progress. Employees on site, we're just a small group of 8, and everything is about 75% completed. That looks pretty good. Here, I've got a great question. Do I have any defects? Are there any problems on site? If I had, I would be getting just a couple of different questions. So we're going to say wrong paint color. Definitely want to get that checked, make sure that's my correct solution that I'm looking for. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a picture of the defect. I'm just going to use the camera off of my phone here, off of my tablet, and go through, take that photo. And I can also go through, and I want to make sure they know that's definitely where I'm having the problems with these defects. That's the wrong color. I need that to be a much brighter blue. So they should go back and check on that. All right, working through my checklist here. I have quite a lot of questions that I'm going to have to work through, but I've got some business logic that I can see going on. For example, do I have security measures are being followed? Yep. So I can just reduce a lot of those questions. Is everything clean and organized? Yeah, looks pretty good. And I can go right ahead. Oh, time of completion. Here I've got a question. I'm not sure what they mean. Oh, is everything clean and tidy? Yes. So the date of completion on that cleaning would have been yesterday because they were there. I can go ahead and add that and move through to the next page of my checklist. And here I just have a couple of signatures that I need to complete. And then I'm done with my checklist. So I'm going to go ahead, collect those signatures. I've got myself as well. Perfect. And I don't have any additional notes, except maybe I'll be back next week. Follow up with customer next week. Perfect. I see it did duplicate that a little bit on my side. Sometimes it does not like my accent, but that's okay. I'm very used to that. I can go in, make those amendments. We all know how voice recognition sometimes can be a little wonky. Perfect. So I have really easily completed my checklist. I've gone through all of my processes on site and been able to document everything. So I'm just going to go right ahead. And either at the bottom or up here, I can also see my paging button here. I can go ahead and say I want to complete my checklist. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. It's released and it's pushed everything right back to my dynamics. So something I can see right off the bat, if I jump to my completed checklists, there at the bottom, I have that checklist for today. I can either go through, review all of those details, or in my case, I want to make sure and provide the customer with an overview of everything that we've discussed so I can work through and have a PDF. There I've got that signature, also those pictures as well. And I can always save this, send it to the customer via email with their information from Dynamics, print this to a Bluetooth printer, however I would like to provide it to them. I have that PDF there. Something I don't have set in my checklist, if I needed that signature directly on the PDF, I can also go and have that editable PDF there as well. Now, we did have a quite more complicated process that we worked through there with some of those business logic, some different variations and questions. But a checklist is not just something that you should be using for complicated processes on site for your customers, but instead, it could look a little more differently. We'll go and take a look here at ESO. We all know all of those standard ESO things that we might have to go through. And here I straight up have a yes, no questions that I might need to work through to say, oh, okay, yeah, that all looks pretty good. Definitely done that. Definitely checked through that. No, nothing in that applies. Nothing applies. So your possibilities with checklists are very varied. You can fit them specifically to your processes and your checklists that you are needing and that your customers are needing, and you really have the opportunity to fit that to their needs. Right. So as we can see, there are a couple of steps when we're talking about checklists. Creating checklists, we'll get to that in just a minute. On the job, the ability to fill out everything, drop-down menus, texts, checkbox, confirming all of my informations, photos, comments, signatures, and then pushing it back to my back office. So that all sounds pretty good to me, but what are we looking at when we're talking about creating that in Business Central? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how easy it is for your teams, and I'm talking about non-technical people, myself included, to be able to go in and make those amendments, create those checklists, and really have this fit very specifically to the process on the customer side at the time. So we're going to take a look at our production plant on our side. And here I can see, for example, I've got a controller who's reviewing everything on site. I have a couple of people who should be reviewing. Now, my team has grown. We've added a new colleague, Nikki. I need to make sure that their details are definitely updated so they can really get started because this checklist is going to tell them exactly what they need to be doing on site. So let's jump directly into our dynamics. All right. So first I want to find my checklists. I forgot to mention here I can see the overview of all of those checklists that I had. They have come back through on our side, and I can always see checklists, for example, my construction sites that I was working on. I can see my colleagues are still out in the field working on things. Everything has been pushed back, and I can continue working with that in Dynamics as needed. That's not what I'm looking for right now, so let's go and I want to make some amendments to this particular checklist. So I'm going to go look at my templates. That's sort of this overview of the possible checklists that we are working with. And today I'm working with this one, my production plant. So let's go right in. I obviously don't want to be making those changes while my team is working. Otherwise, I'm updating their process while they're maybe in the middle of a checklist. So here I have quite a lot. I have all of those questions. And I can go through and say, okay, here's the controller that we needed to be looking with. And I have my preset responses. So here I need checker Nikki. They've just joined our team. I can go ahead right away and add that information. Here I got, for example, what data type? How should this information be displayed? Is it a radius where I'm picking several responses? Do I need, for example, that date times integers? Do I need a text field? Should I be adding a picture? I have quite a lot of possibilities in my data for creating my checklist. Mandatory fields. Am I adding some additional BC functionalities? Does this need to have conditional statements? Depending on question A, I'm getting a different question B, that business logic. So right here, I can very quickly amend my checklist as needed. All I need today is to add my new colleague. Go right ahead and activate that. And of course, on my side, I'm going to go and hit my sync button. I want to make sure I'm pulling all of that information and those details. One thing when we're talking about synchronization, obviously I'm using a manual sync, but we always have that background synchronization that you know from us at a particular time of day, maybe when a checklist or process is completed, or at specific intervals every hour on the hour. All right, so let's go and redo my checklist. And there we can see I have already been able to make and amend that information, and my process is up to date to match my team and what I'm actually needing to present to my colleagues. All right. So it really is that easy when we're talking about a checklist to meet your specific needs, your customers' needs. Now you might be wondering, I did go through very quickly and show you in our dynamics how I would create and amend my checklist. But what are all of those different possibilities? And to make it as easy as possible for you, everything that we're looking at today available directly in AppSource with all of these pre-created checklists, including one I really love, our guided tour. And here is where you would have the opportunity to really see what are my possibilities for questions for my business logic. Here I've got my mandatory fields. Do I need, just a yes, no response? Do I need to be able to pick items from a particular list or work with that business logic that we were discussing? Adding multiple pictures is also possible. Here, a great feature that I didn't mention earlier, picking up any information from Dynamics. Here, I just need to grab an item number, I can go ahead, have that item list you saw earlier, me selecting from my list of customers before I dive into anything. So you can always connect to any tables and fields, including custom tables and fields, information coming from other ISVs, anything that you need to use in your checklist, you can do. And then I can always work through all of that as needed. So that's always a good place to get started, to see what the possibilities are, and to see how you can really fit a checklist to your customers' particular needs and processes and work through that. So go ahead, find that in AppSource. It's a great place to get started. All right. I obviously don't want to take up too much of your time today, but if there are any questions, we would love to take those to go through any points that you have. I know that we got a couple via email before we get started from people who can't join us today, but I just wanted to thank you in advance for joining us. I know that it was sort of a very brief run through of checklists, but we're talking about a wonderful additional app where you can go ahead, download that right away, and play around and get started adding that to your system and seeing how that works for you and your customers. All right, I'm going to sort of hand everything over to Mazhar from our side. Mazhar, I know you have that list of those questions that we got in advance.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I do have. Yeah, we'll just maybe start with. I had these questions. How much effort does it takes to have this checklist app in your in your Dynamics, for example? So for that, we have like concluded that if you're using the BC Online or a new mobile app cloud service, then the installation and everything just takes hardly 10 minutes. And of course, we also give the training on top of that, which also have like 1 day of training. So then you have the complete app on your own system with less than or maybe around 1 day effort, let's say. Then I had one more question, which was, can we integrate checklist in any existing Envo app? The answer is yes. It's doable, and we also do, of course, the training for that, and we estimate also the time around 1 day to implement everything in your existing app and also do the training on top of that. Then we had one more question was asked frequently, can I link data from any other Dynamics table to my checklist field? Yes, it's also doable. It's doable. We can configure this. There's a field in the template called customize field that can be used to get any field from any other Dynamics table field into your template. Yep. These were, I think, the most frequent asked some couple of questions. Okay, I had.
Yeah, I also have one that I got just before we started from a colleague who said we work in several languages. How do we handle that? And of course, multi-language, that's not a problem. My app, for example, can be set in German and English, depending on things on my side, who's presenting, and what my customer needs as well as an output. So that's also a possibility that's there for you to get started. Yeah, and in general, I just sort of have had those questions about how do we get started? How do we add it? You can go ahead and contact our team if you already have some customers in process who need this, or if you want to add this for your team for how to work through your processes, your checklists, make them more digital, go ahead and reach out. You have our information on the screen, and we can always go through a webinar again with you or just sit with you and hear about your process and maybe even start talking about how to build your checklist to really fit your specific needs. Because it is a very flexible toolkit. It has everything there where you can work in your dynamics, in your known environment to put everything on a mobile device. And I can have a couple of those checklists there that I can really dive in and get started working and making sure my team knows exactly what they should be doing on site at all times. All right. I wanted to see if there were any further questions, any other points that we could help with. Okay. So I don't see anything on our side, but I know that some things might come up in advance. A question about price. Yes, so our pricing would be handled on a per user basis, and that can be found directly on our website. You have the ability to go through and see that based on if you're based in North America or in Europe, your separate euro or US dollar prices. Um, Directly on our website, I can also send those details later via email if you would like, so that you can dive in and take a look at that. We're very upfront about our prices. Yeah, so that's based on a per user, so per user logging in on the Envaigo device on the, yeah, all right. Then if there are no further questions, I wanted to just thank everyone one more time for joining us and for taking the time, and I look forward to hearing back from you.